So this video is about the Chinese dating market and the fact that it doesn't look very well. I think personally it's not about the Chinese dating market in particular, it's about the dating market in general. It's cooked, it's been cooked for a while now. I don't think it has ever been good, but nowadays it's been worse, it's getting worse and worse. So let's see this guy's insight of what is going on in China.
So at this point, there's no doubt that the dating market in China has skyrocketed to, I don't know how many levels of difficult there is, but it's pretty high.
I missed
Rocketed
it.
to
Single people 1 in 5, on track to be 1 in 4. So what he's saying it's between 20 to 25%, and considering that it's China, where there's like a billion people, that's quite a lot. So there's like 200 million of them being single. Is that it? No, probably it's less, like 100, because you know there's also the age, the frame, but still that it's par for course. I mean, I've already covered a lot of videos about this already, and it's kind of it's becoming apparent that you know people are tapping out of the dating pool and realizing this is a big inconvenience overall. And in China in particular, because I've been working in my previous job with people that were telling me what's the meta in China, and apparently you have to pay when you're getting married. So there's also the financial aspect that you have to take into account when you're in a relationship, in a serious relationship with someone. So that's adding additional friction to already an overall very friction environment.
I don't know how many levels of difficult there is, but it's pretty high up there. So not only as a number of single men
I would say in terms of difficulty, I would say from a scale to 1 to 10, it's around 999,000. It's over 9,000.
drastically increased, but the amount of people who are now actively leaving the dating scene is on the rise as well. And I kind of respect that, you know, like, you can always just leave. That's always an option. Now,
Yeah,
this has led to an interesting
just do that. You'll be better off.
moments where we actually get to see the effects of voluntary and involuntary celibacy affecting the wider economy.
Voluntary is fine because you just chosen it. Involuntary though is, how do I put it? Full of insecurity, desperation, frustration. You don't want to be in the right side. Where is it? The right side. That's not a good place to be in.
God, what a
Look at this guy. Ugh.
Okay, for example, because less and less couples are getting married each year, we see a decline in the maternity industry, which
I mean, for sure, we're in the new age, right? People are more reluctant, more than ever, to be married and to make children. It's a very big commitment, and I feel, is it a really bad thing to do? In my opinion, I don't know. I feel like it's better to, if you're not sure about it, to just wait. And if it doesn't go, it doesn't go, really. Rather than having a failed marriage, which nowadays, let's be honest, it's above 50% chance to happen, right? And then having a child that is a result of a failed marriage. I mean, why would you do that to that kid? Really? He's basically coming up into this world with a huge debuff on him.
checks out. And whilst the media tries not to explicitly make the following connections, we know that more and more people becoming single has got to be the reason, or at least a contributing factor, towards why the pet industry is now slowly rising to a major part of China's economy. And pretty much at this point, everybody knows.
I mean, for sure, people still want this affection towards another being. It doesn't necessarily have to come with the caveat that it needs to be a human. And pets is a very nice to have. Like doggos, you can chill with them. They're very nice to hang out with. They emotionally support you, right? You have cats that are extremely cute on top of that. So if you feel like you are not ready for dating, which by the way most people aren't, okay, don't worry about it. Like, I would say I'm not ready either. Anyway, yeah, so Keep that in mind. A pet is a nice alternative to get you in the gist of taking care of another being aside from yourself, and it's very nice to have someone around regardless.
Knows that the dating scene has hit rock bottom, but when it comes to actually facing the issue together, the relevant stakeholders at hand, which is pretty much every single participant within the dating market, are not necessarily uniting their method of approach to tackle the topic of discussion. And this of course includes the percentage of the couple's population.
Studies indicates that a significant portion of married Chinese couples, specifically 27, reportedly experiencing sexual infidelity. Who would have thought? Who would have thought that the result of relationships that are undercooked lead to cheating? Everybody knew that this is gonna happen. 26, by the way. 1 in 4 relationships will lead to somebody becoming untruthful and a cheater, basically. That's really sad. And I think the percentage is actually too low for the for the reality of it. I think it's around 30 to 40%. I'm just gonna go ahead and put it here in Romania. Cheating is seen, at least for a guy, is seen as a something virtuous. It's really disgusting, but still, that's how the culture is. That's how we've been told that as a man you need to go to with as many girls is rather than invest your time with only one. Just goes to show that people don't are not very trustworthy when it comes to relationship overall. That doesn't help. Point is, that doesn't help with the whole
Who I know for a fact are dying to get a piece of this pie, which is actually
online dating market size from 2022 to 2032 in billions. Yes, yes, yes. Yes, I love marketing. I love dating. Yes, yes. Keep them desperate. I say, keep them single. I say, keep them cheating. Yes.
none of my business, by the way, but y'all are scat, unless it's consensual. Regardless, the point of this rambling here is supposed to tell you that both dating market participants and wider Chinese society
People inside the house, people
continue to hold the opinion that the problem should be addressed. But not everybody takes the same approach in how they participate within the dating market. As the old saying goes, all paths lead to Rome, but not everybody takes the same path. The second part is not the old saying, it's the first part, but like, you get what I'm trying to... Traditionalists, for example, often made up by a slightly more mature audience base, believes the solution towards fixing the dating market and the singleness epidemic
is to not literally like skip a few steps, which, hey, make it convenient, right? We're in 2025. Everything is convenient except for dating. Come on. The dating apps don't help. Really. When they were first introduced, they did. And now they're just a nuisance as well.
is to repatch the arranged marriage meter because it's one of the only services that exists where you get full transparency on what you're supposedly getting into. But the downside towards this method of approach is that you get very little say on who your partner is actually going to be. Personally, I think that's a little counterintuitive because in the scenario where you rush into a relationship where you haven't spent enough time and effort to get to know each other to the full extent,
A very big risk. This could lead to a lot of troubles down the way.
there are of course other issues as well that can arise, for example, like having a lack of trust within the relationship because you didn't spend enough time building it in the first place. And I swear to God, this is an actual complaint I've seen before. It's the fact that the agency or the broker offers no customer support hotline for when the relationship doesn't work out post-purchase. Fair enough. I mean, if you're gonna make it a service, at least make it comprehensive. Idealists, on the other hand, are made up by a slightly more innocent and younger generation, and believe the solution to fixing the problem is of course reviving authentic connections.
How do you do that? You're an idealist, yes, we get that. Can you describe me a solution to achieve that? Oh, you don't have anything. Oh, okay. But you require that everybody will be, more idealistic like you are. And that will be the solution for it. I'm sorry, that's not gonna help. The solution, in my opinion, should come from the government entities, okay? They should actually educate more of the population around relationships, number one, about the importance of it, which should be way less than people make it believe. Like, especially I feel like in China, where people like the social pressure is on all the time extremely high, right? You need to decrease that by a bit at least, right? So that you can take out of the equation desperation and insecurity, because the higher degree of this of social pressure, the higher degree of desperation, which leads to a lower precision of W's, because let's be honest, if you are man or a woman, doesn't matter, if your partner is extremely insecure and desperate, you wouldn't want to be around him. So that actually leads, this whole social pressure leads to a lower degree of wins overall. So it's pointless.
This basically just means more
So yeah, less social pressure, number one. More education, number two. Just like this naive about, oh yes, everybody should be nice to each other. Yes, I'm sure that you can ask that of a billion people, and I'm sure they're all gonna listen to you.
people need to take the initiative in putting themselves in environments where it can happen naturally. Because
Okay, so the solution is to, try hard. I mean, I'm not wrong. Just try hard and eat shit for a year or two or three or four. And hey, eventually you'll meet someone that you might be vibing with, not really. Is it actually worth it now that I mentioned the whole concept? Does it sound appealing to anyone to spend thousands of dollars or whatever, yen, billions of yen, I guess, I don't know their conversion rate, just to get a chance to meet someone that you might like at first, but probably not in the long run? It sounds like total bullshit.
Because honestly, it's actually pretty important to have the idea that fundamentally, love should happen when it's at the right moment, and romance should feel spontaneous and not forced. And whilst this is a great solution on paper, the method here adopts the assumption that everybody has great social skills and hobbies worth talking about, and
That's a good point he brings up. Yes, if you were a great social guru, this thing is not gonna be as painful as it will be for the normal average dude that is basically autistic. He goes to these social gatherings, bro. He about to get another trauma on his PTSD list. Let's be honest, that's what's gonna happen. He's gonna collect them like Pokemon. Every event is gonna be another Pokemon that he's gonna add to his collection of PTSD directory portfolio.
has the mental and social capability of striking up an interesting conversation with a
Yeah, expect me to bring up an interesting conversation with the perfect gesticulation, perfect tonality, perfect emotes. Really, for real. Come on, get out of here.
stranger in a public
The
space. Now,
expectation.
here's an interesting and extremely niche report conducted by
with
Seoul.
with unknown people, so you don't even know much about them. So you gotta be on top of your game, basically.
And the University of Shanghai. It was a collaborative approach. The amount of people that are finding it easy to socialize with one another is slowly decreasing with each new generation.
I mean, for sure. I made a video about this, about male loneliness epidemic, and I think the reason for that, China, in Romania, is gonna happen in Romania soon also, and in America and Netherlands, is the rise of technology, which is basically allowing us to find alternatives to socialization. And those alternatives do not help us become social gurus like back in the days, 100 years ago, when the only thing you could do in your free time is to go outside. Nowadays, you got games. Nowadays, you got movies and streaming services. Keep that in mind, which obviously will lead to a decrease in your social skills. That's just obvious.
Even when asked about how they feel doing it in their favorite hobby circles. Now take what you will out of that information, but you gotta remember one thing. All they did was just ask 3,000 people of their current user base, so maybe take it with a grain of salt. Now, somewhere between the middle, we have more and more people adopting the realist build. Believe that love is possible only through dedication and hard work towards self-improvement. Now,
What do I think about the third one? Yeah. You need to be realist. You need to understand that the odds are against you. Number one, you need to understand that you have to work more than ever to get a relationship that is suboptimal if you're a guy. If you're a woman, I'm not sure about that, but as a guy, I know this you're gonna struggle a lot. And the result that you're gonna get is probably not even what you looked into the first place. It's gonna be maybe 10% of what you looked into, because she's not gonna look as you imagine, because she's not gonna talk like you imagine, because she's not gonna be as kind as you imagine. And I guess for the women is the same. He's not gonna be Prince Charming at all, right? He's just gonna be an average dude at the end of it all, or maybe he's gonna be hopefully rich but ugly.
They don't make the mistake in idealizing romance, because love is part emotions and part logistics, and as long as you put in the work, you will get your reward proportionally in return.
Okay. This this is your reward. I'm sorry, you're not gonna get this. You're gonna get 10% of this, and the hard work you imply here. If you want this, make sure to become a billionaire, number one. Make sure to increase your height size, number two. Make sure to increase your dick size, number three. Make sure to be a social guru. Okay, really. I'm kidding. You need to be a social guru, basically. You need to be the most charismatic person this earth has ever seen. When you go into a room, everybody knows your presence. That's the kind of work you gotta put into yourself. In my opinion, that's the best stat you gotta increase in order to get a chance to get to this. Because you go to parties, you gotta make sure that you're friends with everyone. You gotta make sure that you're very funny and fun to be around. And eventually you get someone like this, because you have to put them yourself into their mindset, and they think, okay, when I bring him up to my friends, will he be able to make me look better? That's the question. And if the answer to that is yes, you gotta go. You have an entry to the podium, but that doesn't mean she accepts you right away. You still have to accomplish the 5 interview process that she will put you through. And eventually you go through this and probably fail 10 times at number 1 interview, number 2 interview, number 3 interview. That's before that you got to put all the work to reach the podium in the first place. And eventually between number 20 to 100, you will reach your dream-like relationship, which, by the way, it's a joke. Then you wake up to reality and you realize, wait a minute, what is her personality in the first place? Ah, yes, that she's pretty, which will dwindle down immediately after a few months, because you realize, oh wait, she's a piece of shit. So now you gotta go redo this whole process all over again and all over again and all over again. And maybe at attempt number, I don't know, 200 to 1,000, hey, you'll reach exactly what you're looking for. Good luck, man. Your wallet is gonna cry. You are gonna cry. Everybody's gonna cry. It's gonna be awful. And no wonder nobody wanna do that no more.
To what you have to offer. In theory. In fact, I dare say some people watching right now would agree to this idea and would hold their ground and stand firm in subscribing to this idea. Well, that's until you hear about this story. Meet Li Hua, a 25-year-old top 50 global university graduate with a stable job and income and ownership of property and car in the city of Jinan. Now, he was
So this guy bowling,
surprisingly having a little bit of difficulty finding a suitable partner despite being on already 10 to 20 dates. And the counter-argument to
in a few months.
cases like these,
That's not enough, my dude.
which naturally presents itself in the eyes of the realists, is that there's always a magic number to your problem. Because the nature of statistics tells us, supposedly, that the easiest way to increase the likelihood of something happening is to rinse and repeat within your realms of possibilities until it happens. But my carefully curated counter-argument to that is, of course, Li Hua's story happened 11 years ago.
Oof. 11 years of grinding. That's just sad.
He's still single. Now, I
124 blind dates, not enough. You should have gone to 1,000 of them.
Actually wasn't going to include the full story, but upon reading his full experience, I'm not joking when I say this is possibly the biggest L I've ever seen in my 25 years of life. Okay, so Lee actually went on his very first blind date back in 2014, arranged by his family through a matchmaking service. Now this is how he documents the interaction, okay? He still remembers that first girl clearly. In his words, she was stunning, like influencer level beauty, and that's without filters, just naturally gorgeous. Now the girl was actually a student counselor at the University of Jinan, which is where
Nice, nice. So he got it's like with gambler addiction, you know, you give them a W and then from that point onwards only else. But that W will still be in their mind every time they do be gambling. They always chase that.
this man works. And apparently she thought Mr. Lee was decent as well. But here's the twist. Lee chose not to pursue her. And when prompted the question why, in his own words, he claimed that she was just too good.
Hey man, if you are insecure about yourself, she's gonna smell it. Like you know, those dogs that have very good smell and they can smell their prey kilometers away. Women are really good at smelling insecurity. At the moment they even sniff a bit of it, they're like, you see, you fucked. So it's better that he gave up. Like if he felt like this, there's no point. You need to work on your mindset.
I felt like I didn't deserve her. Not only was she beautiful, but she was mature, ambitious, extremely capable in social settings, the full package. And this is the line that sent me, okay? Being with her felt like I was a level 1 player going up against a max level boss. It just wasn't fair. Mr. Lee said meeting someone like that.
So what you need to do is level up, right? And probably that's what he thought also. And he went through this very wonderful journey of dating 120 people that I imagine were horrible, most of them.
Made him feel like she was out of reach, way out of his league. Now, since that date onwards, Lee stopped being skeptical of matchmaking. He thought to himself, if that's the kind of
Oh, from the first date, that was just the grip, my
person I can
friend.
meet.
That was the elevator pitch.
maybe it's worth
The implementation of it in real scenarios is
trying. Lee then went on to complete
yeah, 0124.
123 more
Only
matches,
else.
spending an estimated range of 50,000 to 100,000 yuan throughout.
Oh yeah, and the money gotta go get rolling. For each L, you gotta lose a bit more of your soul, number one, and your finances, number two.
Process with no success. Now, I want to be honest with you here. If this was my dating career, the only way you can possibly find this out is if I physically died and someone left
Yeah.
it in my will. This might just be the biggest fumble in history. Then, of course, we have the materialists, who don't exactly fall into the spectrum in a traditional sense, because like the idealists who also chase a concept of romance, or a version of love that perfectly aligns with their desired lifestyle, many materialists would argue that they're just being honest about the harsh modern realities, especially in a dating economy where the cost of being in a relationship has just never been higher. And of
Yeah, true. You gotta just realize, bro, relationships are more like a financial investment. That's pretty much it. Don't go with too high expectation. It's only a financial transaction for most of us. And hey, can you really say it isn't in a way? I mean, yes, from the perspective of a movie that is all fantasy, yes, it will be more than that. But if you look around, it's not really. We're watching the Chinese dating market and how cooked we are in 2025.
course, when you then follow up with
I think it's not only China. I think it's like a trend to showcase what's about to happen or what's already currently happening worldwide.
the question, bro, what does that all mean? Most of them will just tell you they want someone who's hot, rich, and loyal. The reality, of course, when it comes to seeing die-hard materialists in action, they usually just reduce their cutthroat criteria of hot, rich, and loyal down to a more realistic criteria. 2 out of the 3. That's all you get. And you know, my advice here is that if you do come across these type of people in your social network, instead of contemplating whether or not they're a good demographic of people to involve yourself romantically with, you can always just become their good friend instead, because whilst they don't always have the most romantic relationship, they always have the best stories to tell. I love you guys. But personally, I think
I mean, yeah, you just like, yeah, it's more like a friendship, and sometimes you get you get things going, if you know, catch my drift. Like, lower your expectations, man. It's 2025. The expectations should be as low as possible, so you don't get fucked in the end, you know.
It's kind of unfair to hold an entire single population, whether fragmented or not, collectively hostage and then demand a magic solution from them. Because most of what's killing the dating market today are things that no one group of people or demographic can actually fix or reasonably control. Because whilst things like gender imbalance, rising cost of living, looks inflation,
Looks inflation, price increase, we cannot keep up with the inflation, the fact that the housing markets are is going sicko mode, the fact that trying to raise a child is insane to begin with.
consumer dating culture, dating fatigue,
Dating culture, which is still women want equality, makes sense, but they still wouldn't pay half for the goddamn for the restaurant. We still have to pay all of it. That's really equality in my eyes. I can see that makes no sense.
and overall distrust towards the
Trust issues that have risen with each passing year because of the dating apps that were all a shit show. Let's be honest, shit fest, a shit, only shit.
opposite gender, decline in social skills amongst men in the
The increase of doubts because of all these videos online of people cheating each other and saying that cheating is awesome and so on and so forth.
Zoomer population can all be attributing
Social decline due to technological development and
factors towards why people are becoming single. We all know that the real reason is simply because the best dating show in history hasn't dropped a decent season in years. So I think in order to understand the current state of the dating market, we'll need to first begin simplifying the problem. And to achieve that, you can kind of think of the willingness to escape single life as a spectrum that you can stand on. For example, people who care about being single and people who don't. With people who care about being single likely spending the most amount of time.
this is the thing, and it's very hard to think which one of these two, and I'm gonna move myself a bit there, on the top. I think that's the best. Which one of these two has a higher chance of getting what he wants? Because you would say, you think that this guy actually, obviously, because he puts less effort and is less incentivized to get a relationship, will have way less percentage of achieving that, of course, because he doesn't put that much effort. But there's the thing, there's a sweet spot in this spectrum where I feel like here is the best, not here actually, because if you're here, this is where
Time and effort.
your insecurity will show off, and being insecure is really bad. You don't want to be in this area. You actually want to be not here entirely, but you gotta be somewhere in this area instead. I feel like that's the most optimal way to look it up. You really need to not give a fuck, because the moment you give a fuck and you see like this character, this is not gonna help you in dating at all. The desperation is your enemy. You need to rid yourself of it in order to even have a remote chance of succeeding in your dating life.
To escape their current situation. Whereas
Your desperation will also degrade your social skills as well. Keep that in mind. It's just acting in your against you.
people who don't spend relatively much less effort and urgency to escape. For example, if Xiaoming, sitting at one end of the spectrum, cares a lot about being single, then he may potentially be willing to spend up to 300,000 yuan a year just to sign up to a VIP diamond tier matchmaking service in hopes that he'll be introduced to the
Give me my
perfect
money.
woman. He knows that statistically
here's your
speaking, the
money.
chances of finding a good and successful match in the short run is very low. But he does it anyways because he fears nothing. Then Xiaohong, sitting on the other end of the spectrum, who is generally unbothered or nonchalant about being single, would more likely find the idea of meeting someone naturally by spending most of her time in social or hobby circles she enjoys to be the right play. But we all know the real intellectual powerhouse here is actually Xiao Wang, who would just have his mom cross-post his stats in the city square marriage market and all relevant social platforms and wait for the results to come in themselves. And of course, when we're on the topic of dating and marriage and parental influence, the same research that we talked about earlier, the one with University of Shanghai, suggests that parental pressure is still one of the biggest influencing
Just decrease that amount. Like, let's stop social what is it? What is it? Oh my god. I'm having a mental block. social, what is the word I'm looking for? Social pressure. Exactly. So let's stop with that. Let's stop with social pressure overall. This is stupid. Straight up. Stop it. Let's end this here. Let's not pursue this. This is a relic of the past. It's never worked out. Never before. Never now. This is disgusting. Don't social pressure people, because this is gonna lead, like I said, to desperation. You want to avoid it.
Factors when it comes to shaping children's views on dating and marriage. Now, this is actually a good statistic to have because now we can factor in parental pressure as a key driving point in the phenomenon we see in Chinese dating market today. For example, people who care about being single with parental pressure.
Let's move here. A moment. Yes. There you go.
Is more likely to participate in matchmaking and other fast-track dating methods because they have a much greater sense of urgency to escape single life and meet obligations. People who don't care about being single but have parental pressure on their backs could potentially either turn to dating apps or attempt to find meaningful personal connections through more organic routes like hobbies and friendship groups, or establish communities in order to find the right partner. But it does run the risks of having no urgency, which can lead to the individual spending the majority of their youth in semi-serious situationships that doesn't lead to fruitful outcomes in the long run.
Hey, at least they're having fun.
Now, people who don't care about being single with no parental pressure,
They are the enlightened ones. I have reached that state also at a certain degree, and then I realize, who cares? Who cares? My parents don't care either anymore. It's perfect. I'm feeling great. I'm doing my own shit. That's the best. That's the best spot to be in life. Like thinking about getting a partner in today's day and age, it's like, why? Everybody expects that if the partner comes in, their life is gonna get 10 times better, when in reality it might get maybe even slightly better, even 1.1%, like 10% increase, which is you're risking so much for 10% increase in your life, like how good your life is overall. And let's not say that in 10% of like there's a small percentage that will happen, and there's a very high percentage that the opposite could happen, where your life is gonna become 50% worse, and you just fucked up all this time and effort was spent to make your life actually worse, and you're stuck with it now, at least for a period.
how does it feel? But of course, at the end of the day, another great soft skill to have that translate into dating success is of course the ability to communicate your emotions clearly and concisely to the other party. So say what you mean. You'll do everyone a favor. And even though 62% of Chinese Gen Z respondents believe the concept of marriage is frightening, I think a tip that you can always remember to help you feel a little better is that how can you be scared of the concept of marriage when the issue of the singleness epidemic is not solved in the first place? Just so you know, if I'm found incapacitated in the streets after the release of this video, I probably deserved it. And of course, up to this point, there are people left that I haven't really covered, and these are what I like to call outliers of the dating market. Because whilst the singleness epidemic
the guys that know exactly how to play the game. Good for them, man.
Is a standard issue across dating market participants, it doesn't necessarily affect everybody to the same degree. Some people are drowning in love, while others are drowning in loneliness. I mean, you're both technically drowning, but only one of them actually wants to die. So from the male side of the outlier spectrum, we have people who can successfully pull off the Jackson Wang haircut. In fact, the whole spectrum might as well just be called how much do you look like Jackson Wang on a scale of 1 to 10. 10 is single because he's literally Jackson Wang, and dating will only negatively affect his generational run. On the female side of the spectrum, and perhaps the true apex predators of the whole dating market, who's never really suffered from the singleness epidemic, is the tier 1 city rich single auntie with no kids. And whilst the individual's initial reaction to entering this kind of relationship may be to question whether or not it's actually real love, the feeling will quickly fade away after a few sips of your $15 milk tea riding shotgun in her Bentley Continental. Now, despite being on top of the food chain, there are still issues that plague the Ivy League equivalent of daters within the Chinese dating market, and that is the concept of expectation to reality. And this essentially just refers to how many people that actually exists in the population that satisfies your criteria. For example, if you're satisfied with somebody with an ordinary job, not too ugly, and has the ability to support a family, that's approximately 80% of the population. If you're looking for an attractive and well-established individual with a high-paying private sector job and a well-established social circle, the figure then sits at roughly 10%. If you're looking for a bilingual, well-groomed man with wealth,
Yeah, and that's usually what people are looking for.
Power and status so untouchable even celebrities cannot hold a candle to him. Please feel free to submit your application to the State Council. Thank you for listening and goodbye.
Where does
Yeah, sad, sad, sad. That's how it is. That's how we rolling over here. It is what it is. Anyway, that was it. China struggling as everybody else. Hopefully, this issue will be fixed once AI girlfriends are gonna be released in the market. Am I right? Hopefully, I'm already thinking of my design for my perfect AI girlfriend. I hope she's not gonna be too expensive. That's the only issue I have. 100k, I'm willing to pay. 500k, that's too much. 100k though, I'm willing to pay up to 100k. But I'm not talking about AI girlfriends on like phone and bullshit like that. I don't need that shit. I'm talking about what was the movie? Movie AI girlfriend. Which one was that? Yes, this one. This one. Blade Runner. Yes. Struggling with titles. Apologies.